name's John Tarrant. I'm the managing partner of DNA based in Bristol, cover the UK, cover the world from Bristol. I'm joined on the call by one of my colleagues, Max Bradshaw, who's an account exec here at DNA. And more importantly, he's the community manager on a number of our employee advocacy programs. So he is right at the heartbeat and the sharp end and can answer lots of the how to and, how do I overcome type questions that you might have. And also joined by a DNA client, Shona Martin, who's the HR BP at Get Living. Max and I are just the warm-up act. She's at the top of the bill and we'll tell you what the real life experience is a bit later on. As Natasha said, I think there's 2 or 3 other polls so you don't lose the will to live while we're talking, give you something to do while we're going through the presentation. We're going to go through it pretty quickly. There was lots of questions that we want to get around to. So if we go too fast or we need to follow up, you're going to get a copy of the presentation. We're going to send you some more follow-up information if you need it. So if we go too quickly, apologies, but there's a reason for that because there were so many questions. So purpose of today for us is to show you best practice. There's a big wide world out there. You spend a lot of time looking inwards in your organization and you sometimes need a reliable guide to show you a better way. So for us, if we can show you what best practice looks like, helps your thinking along a bit, helps you take your talent attraction, employer branding and employee engagement to the next level, then, that's time well spent for us. Obviously, the structure will be a bit of intro to who we are, very short. Employee advocacy, what is it? Why would you do it? And how would you do it? Answering a gazillion of the questions that got sent through on the joining instructions is obviously something that's on your mind and something that's always time at the moment. Very briefly, going to show you what the key learnings are to help maybe shape what you do going forwards. And then Shona's going to go through her experience with Get Living. And then any further questions that come out now or after, we can pick those up as well. As I said in the chat, there's only 2 rules on the questions. Ask us anything you like and we'll give you a straight answer. So a bit of background on DNA. This is what we do. We help clients create stronger brands and better businesses, help them find, keep and engage the staff they need. This is what we do. Whatever we touch, this is what we try and make happen for our clients. And these are our values that the DNAers bring to work every day. These are the types of organizations that we do it for. Our largest client's got 70-something thousand employees globally, but our smallest client's probably got 50, and we love them just the same. We're very much thought and practice leaders in all things EVP and employer branding. And it's our job to increase the quality of what you do, decrease the cost and ensure a legacy of improvement going forwards. But it's not about having an EVP and an employer brand, it's what you do with it. And we have something called Brand Shift, which helps you operationalize it right across the employee lifecycle. The focus for our conversation today is obviously up here in employer reputation and attraction. I don't know what it was the Chinese year of last year, the dog or the pig or whatever, but it certainly felt like the Chinese year of employer reputation. Reputation is growing more and more important, and the ability to shape and share your message in the most effective way is only going to continue to grow in importance, which I guess is why we've had such a big take up. So that's sort of who we are and what we do. The benefit around employee advocacy is if you're going to shape and share your employer brand in the right way, your strategy to appeal to current and future talent is probably one of the best friends you've not quite met yet, but it could be really powerful for you. And we're going to show you what and how. That's a bit of a shopping list about what we do, but more importantly, so employee advocacy, what we try and do is to make things as simple and as clear as possible. Because if we've got clarity on definition and clarity of purpose, it makes rolling out the program, engaging stakeholders, proving ROI, facilitation, keeping the advocates engaged. If we keep it simple and keep it direct, and everybody's working off the same hymn sheet, then it just makes it really easy. So this is the definition we use: promotion of your business, or specifically the employment experience by your engaged workforce. How it works is a carefully chosen group of employees who act as brand champions, and they share this positive look on the company culture through the social media channels that we think are the right ones. Authenticity is key. These people aren't just a mouthpiece for the organization and simply repeating what the organization does. This is their authentic employee experience, which I'll come on to. It's about the people, not necessarily the name above the door. And this is what they do. So they generate original, authentic content. Yes, they will do some resharing, but the engagement on that, as we know from measurement, isn't as positive, significantly lower than the personal experience. And crucially, the most crucial word in that last sentence is evidence. It's all about evidence. It's all about proof about you being a distinct, authentic, and compelling place to work. So why does it matter? It's about authenticity. It's about reputation. The simplest definition of a brand is brand equals identity plus reputation, and you build your reputation through repetition. It's that positive drip feed about the employment experience you offer, why it's different and special to work there, why your people bring their talent to your organization every day. It's that positive drip feed that builds your employer reputation, and it's authentic, and it's proof, and it's evidence, and it's true, which is the most important elements. And in terms of penetration, it takes, we've talked about shaping and sharing your message. It takes it to all of those dark corners of the talent market that matter most to you, whether that's generic, whether it's all parts of diversity, in all of its forms, particularly around the multi-generational workforce, which we've got lots of clients talking about at the moment. It's about penetrating hard to reach talent pools and building your reputation where it matters most. This was a great quote that came out of the PwC survey a couple of years ago. And it's always a little bit shocking for the C-suite when we say that only 15% of candidates believe what they say. It's even more shocking for our senior TA and HRD clients when we say that less than 25% of the talent market believe what they say. But they absolutely get it that more than 66% of candidates believe what employees say, which is why advocacy is so important. It's always also why things like Glassdoor are so important. There's another survey that said two-thirds of candidates will abort a job application if they see negative reviews on Glassdoor or negative trends. So that authenticity, that voice, that real life lived experience is key. So if you use the advocacy in a planned and measurable way, you get that credible narrative. Is that positive drip feed. Repetition builds reputation. It's harnessing the growth of social media. We've got lots of clients, when we talk to them about advocacy and social media, they go, oh yeah, we've got to get around to that. We're better than we used to be, but we're not as good as we could be. At some point in the future, we've got to get around to it. Well, I need to tell you folks, the future is here now, and it's not going to wait for you. So everybody pretty much needs to get with the beat on this. And again, if you want to be seen as a great place to work, then you've got to be seen in the first place. So advocacy around a clear process and a clear message and a clear structure will take your employer brand, will take your strategy to appeal to current and future talent to all the places where you need it to do damage for you. We've got lots of slides with numbers on there, or two in fact. So when the advocates place their posts on LinkedIn, the engagement we're getting on qualified job applicants is significantly greater. It's working. It's not just numbers on a slide. This is proof positive that it's working. And then in terms of the benefits of advocacy, it's all of those things that I mentioned before. It will get your message into passive job seekers. It will help you penetrate new networks. It will build pride and purpose internally. It will make you be seen as a great place to work. And it's not just about the talent agenda. It has a significantly positive impact on the consumer brand and the consumer agenda. As you can see there, I don't need to read those to you. But it doesn't just happen. The what is employee advocacy we've covered. Why would you do it? We've covered. But how would you do it is critical. And at DNA, we produce beautiful EVPs, employer brands, social media campaigns, recruitment marketing campaigns, but they're all underpinned by really boring things like structure, discipline, process, measurement. And employee advocacy doesn't just happen. You need a robust process behind it that's proven, tried, and tested. The thing about having the process is A, the doing gets done, but B, when you're engaging stakeholders like, I don't know, corporate affairs or marketing or legal, then it eliminates any form of risk, which is really important for those stakeholders. So there's a really clear process. I apologize that this looks like the central heating diagram of a large hospital, but it's simple and it works. So the first thing you do, first and most important thing is set the overarching strategy, agree what are our objectives, what is it we're trying to deliver. We'll agree what our propositions are and what are our key messages and channels. So for those organizations that have a clear EVP and employer brand in place, You might have the pillars for your EVP in place. You may have a messaging matrix about how you segment that message to different parts of the talent audience. Then we'll obviously scrutinize those and use those effectively. For some clients who haven't got those, that's okay. We can still make sure that we have a messaging matrix in place and we agree all of the things we want to say and who we want to say it to, and the list of things that we don't want to say and the people we don't want to say it to. So there's a really important setup process around setting objectives, setting the strategy and the messaging matrix. Then it's about identifying the employee advocates. These people are volunteers. You'll have a good idea as to who might be the right type of person that we might want to have as our paragon of the workforce, if you like. They don't necessarily have to be social media superstars. For lots of clients, the right advocates almost have no presence on LinkedIn when we start, but we can coach and train them and help them build their own personal brand as well as our own brand. So we identify the employee advocates from across the business, which locations, which departments, which roles, and it's a careful selection exercise across this sort of volunteer cohort. Then it's about training and enablement. We've got a separate slide on that, so we'll show you what the training and the setup looks like. How do we set these people up for success? And then this bit is the real heartbeat. This makes sure that doing gets done. The content is generated by the employee advocates. In the case of Get Living and other clients, it's supported by Max and other folk at DNA, where they talk to the employee advocates. What have you been up to this week, this fortnight, this month? What was good about what was good? What was different? What was your best day? How was that? Where have you been? What have you done? And we just talk. And although it's just 4 weeks of business as usual for them, little bits of gold dust come out about what was different and special and why it was great. So there's an element of sort of facilitation and nudging and enthusing and recognizing and supporting to help the EAs generate content. Then that community manager role, and there are some clients who have the community manager in-house, that's fine. For this example, DNA are the community managers. So keep the program on plan, help create the content, separate sessions with the advocates to keep them in and chirpy and engaged in the process, and giving them extra support, helping build their knowledge of social media if they need it. We'll do quarterly stuff. We'll make the team a team. So rather than all the advocates being spread all over the organization, or in some cases all over the country, we'll get them together to make them feel like a team, and a bit of recognition always helps. There's an element of moderation and compliance to make sure that there is no risk inherent in the process. We'll check with the client content lead. We'll obviously check with marketing. We'll check with legal affairs. When the process is set up initially, that checking is pretty rigid. But once you get into the rhythm and the flow and the process of rolling it out, then the community manager is trusted to just make it happen. So that's the real heartbeat. That's the bit that makes sure the doing gets done. When we talk to other organizations where, it's a bit like when you have to write your company newsletter. The first one is really easy. Second one takes a bit of doing, and the third one never sees the light of day. Often that in-house community management bit sort of falls a bit on stony ground after a while. And the success of any employee advocacy program is to keep that fresh and keep that momentum moving. EAs post the content, they're obviously aggregator sites and posting sites if the volume is huge, but the EAs posting the content works best for us in this process, proven to work. Then it's not just about them posting it, it's about making sure that we get the shares, the likes, the engagement, the reposts, etc. And then it's about measurement, because you can't measure what you can't improve what you don't accurately measure. So measure everything and then put it back into the overarching plan. So that's the process. I know it looks like the central heating diagram, as I said, but when you're engaging stakeholders, whether it's legal or whether it's marketing, legal going, oh my God, what's going out into the marketplace? This is controlled. It helps us achieve our employer branding and talent attraction objectives. From a marketing point of view, everything we do in employee advocacy underpins and supports the consumer brand or the corporate brand or the B2B brand. It supports the marketing brand in every way, never dilutes it, never runs against it. We have some clients who have big marketing programs going out, in which case we might rein in the employee advocacy bit for a month. And then when their big marketing programs have eased back a bit, then we'll pick back up with employee advocacy. So everything we do underpins marketing. So you sent through a million questions, and what I wanted to do was try and answer as many as possible. First one was, how do I select and induct and train advocates? And Max and Shona, feel free to dig in on any of these. So, the first thing is, let's be really clear on what we're trying to achieve. This is a means to an end, not an end in itself. As with any selection exercise, there's a long list, a short list, and a selection process to go through. Typically, some of the people, the real keeners who've got their hand up and they go, me, they're not appropriate because they might have the wrong social media background outside of LinkedIn or outside of the business environment. This is a business exercise. So as brand ambassadors, these people have got to represent the brand in the right way. We want a selection from across the business. We want a selection from across different talent pools. We want a selection from across maybe different levels of experience. So it's not necessarily the people who shout the loudest are the ones who are going to make it through to be advocates on day one. The kickoff training. Max, you've just been doing a fair amount of kickoff training. Do you want to talk through the kickoff training? I can shut up a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having the clear kind of process to onboard the advocates is the first initial step, but then you're training them thereafter. You can get them up to scratch with everything, but every week that they're thinking about content they want to roll out is opportunity for them to keep learning and keep growing within the program. So the induction process and the training process isn't a one-stop thing. It's something that, as John said, it's important to measure and go back and look at again and keep tweaking and optimizing. So from a training perspective, it's something that happens every single week, every single time we have a conversation with them. And that's the duty of the community manager in a way.
Great. Perfect. Thank you, mate. There are lots of questions about, that all sounds great, but how do we keep the momentum going? As Max touched on, as we said in the process, there's a careful balance of facilitation, suggestion, nudging. Max and I were talking about one client yesterday, and there's one particular employee advocate where, a quick nudge every once in a while works perfectly, once a fortnight, maybe once every 3 weeks on the outside. There's another one where it's literally 3 times a week, and we have to cover him with love and nudge and push and cajole. And the output's fantastic, but it's about making sure that not one size fits all. Remember, these are volunteers. They've got a day job. This doesn't, building their personal brand and that of the organization, building pride and purpose. They've got a job as well. So we need to make it convenient around them. Understand, if they're in finance, when is it month end, quarter end, year end? If they're in IT and they've got big programs going on, what's happening there? If they're in sales, how do we wrap ourselves around them to make it convenient for them to develop it? Max has really helped them build their personal skills, build their personal profile, build their social media knowledge, build careers and reputations, as well as building the personal brand, and a bit of recognition. So we send them a thank you every now and again. They get recognition from the key stakeholders internally. Take them out for a nice meal every once in a while just to say thank you. Anything you'd add to that, Max or Shona?
Yeah, I think kind of on the momentum piece, quite counterintuitively, you can run the risk of disengaging advocates and creating a sense of apathy with the program if you're hot on their heels all the time. I think it's really important for the community manager to build a relaxed relationship and have relaxed meetings and conversations, as formal as possible, but one, to engage them in the program and to join the calls as a friend in a way, and to tell you the honest truth, and as John said earlier, to get the gold dust of information to be able to create the right content and share the right message.
Brilliant. Okay, so sorry, Shona, after you.
Just one more thing to add to that. I would say from personal experience, we started this a couple of years ago and we're still going, and I've had a baby since we've been going, and so I've gone off and come back and it's still going. And so from a momentum perspective, it definitely does keep going. And we didn't have the most engaged advocates at the beginning, and definitely it sounds like some of those people you were talking about were ours. So the momentum keeps going because Max is brilliant at what he does. That's why.
Thank you, Shona.
Thank you. Lots of people in marketing came up in lots of people's questions. I don't know if marketing will trust us with the brand, which we've already covered. How do we keep it fresh when marketing don't give us anything in terms of meaningful content? Frankly, if they give us some, then great, because obviously we can ride off the back of it and we can support what they do. And when the advocates engage in lots of the marketing stuff, which you'll see from some of the examples, particularly some of the community engagement stuff or the events, that's really great. But this is about their personal employment experience. It's not necessarily about what marketing think or say. And therefore, that's much more resonant, much more engaging with our audience. What was the difference when Bobby was posting about his own experience compared to marketing stuff going out? What was the difference in engagement, Max? Can you remember?
I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it's at least, I'd probably say it's at least twofold. Kind of people were buying into him more than they were the message. And I think it's, I think people can very easily see when something's been manufactured and when something's authentic. And so it's up to the community manager to, rather than marketing, to be able to relay that message, to be able to find the message, and then support the advocate to let it out, because the statistics are there in that people aren't buying into the message of the brand. Otherwise they'd just follow the brand page.
Yeah, completely. How do we do it across lots of business areas and locations? Employee advocacy isn't one size fits all. Every client is different. Every situation is different. And when we've looked at that, there can be an overarching employee advocacy strategy, but then you drop it down and segment it accordingly. And it's not about world domination. It's not about size. It's not about takeover. It's about effectiveness. So there's no reason why you couldn't have lots of little advocacy programs under one umbrella, and it being compelling. So it's doable is the answer to that question. The risk averse thing, certainly when we started with Get Living, we couldn't breathe without marketing being all over us. But when they realized that everything we did underpinned what they did, and we got the brand and we got the message, they just trusted us to do everything. So that will be you having a clear process which eliminates risk, seems to take the heat out of the conversation. We would go, oh, that's okay, I get it, it's fine. Anybody who's ever been on a sales training course way back when, they all would tell you that an objection is a plea for more information. So if you just show them the information, show them the process, show them the experience of others, then people tend to relax. How do you weave it into your employer brand? It is your employer brand. When we developed employer brands, they have to be distinct, they have to be authentic, and they have to be compelling. Employee advocacy is the same. We just need to get the messaging matrix right. Make sure we've got everybody going north. You don't want some going northeast and some going northwest, some going 1,000,000 miles an hour, some going at snail's pace. If employer brand is good for your people, good for your customers, and good for the bottom line, then employee advocacy is just part of that employer branding process. We don't have the resource in-house. You don't have to. The answer is you don't have to. You can externally facilitate the whole thing, or there might be a hybrid situation. Often if they fail, it's because that essential community manager role is done in-house and that person gets sucked into other projects, or they leave, or they go traveling. It came up last week. So you don't have to have the resource in-house to do it. There's a million ways that you can cut this. This came up in Get Living in the early days. Shona, do you want to pick this one up? If we showcase our people, won't our competitors poach them?
It was a real worry, because when you're doing this and you're setting it up, obviously you want to pick your good people, right? You want your good people to be talking about your company. And one of the genuine worries from our exec team was that they're out in the market there, people can see them, they're going to get poached. And it was a worry. We didn't know what was going to happen. It was an experiment. But what I can say is it hasn't happened. And I think from speaking to the brand advocates, one of the reasons that it hasn't happened is because what it does is reinforce their reason for staying, because they're doing loads of interesting stuff, and they're writing about it. So it hasn't happened is the answer.
Great stuff. And one of the big drivers for employee advocacy is Rick, who's the chief exec at Get Living, and he wanted to build pride and purpose internally as much as externally. And I think there's a feeling that we've had that sort of process by osmosis out the advocates and into their teams, which has been great. How long does it take? As long as it takes. There's the right way of doing it. Typically, to set the process up, I think about the most recent one we've done, Max SXP, that's probably 6 weeks set up. That sound about right?
Yeah, because it's been a different program, this one, because we've had to be as careful as possible to keep it in line with their employer brand and improvement stuff, but it's been, I'd say, 6 weeks.
Okay, perfect. And how do we prove ROI? It's about having some benchmark measurements in the first place. We had one DNA client way back when who were adamant that all of their hires had come from referrals and employee advocates. Now, they were adamant they had that internally. We didn't see it, but that's one way. We've got metrics in place with Get Living and other clients to prove ROI on all of the engagement with all of the posts. So it's about having a benchmark, such as we've got one, improving it. Max, is there anything you'd add to that?
No, I mean, I suppose we've also had a question about capturing data from the advocates around ROI. I think one of the aspects of ROI is that data you get from the posts themselves. Quantitative likes, comments, reposts, impressions. You can actually technically, in a way, measure just by the people that are liking the post, the connections that your advocate is making, and the impression data, where the audience is coming from, or where the message is reaching, which is an incredibly important ROI, because ultimately impressions be first impressions, and if the first impression is Bobby from Get Living about Get Living, then it doesn't get more valuable than that.
Yeah. The ROI is part of a broader picture and tends to be unique to every client. So Natasha mentioned in one of the polls earlier about lack of budget or people's budgets being cut. We're having to do more presentations for clients on the business case for EVP, employer brand, employee advocacy, social media strategy, employee engagement. Because I get, there are limited budgets at clients, and you've got to get yourself at the top of the list and prove ROI. So if anybody needs help putting an ROI document together, again, I'm sure we can help with that. So key learnings before we move on to Shona: start small. You don't need to start with 50 people. Start with 6 or 8. Manage it, build it from there, build it from a position of strength. 6 or 8 is fine. Be really clear on objectives and really clear on process. As I say, this is a means to an end, not an end in itself, and having the right process eliminates risk and makes it easy for the doing to get done. Everybody always knows where they stand. Be prepared to say no. So not just with Get Living, but with other DNA clients, we've got people who are desperate to be brand ambassadors, but they're not right. So you have to have that difficult conversation, say, we're building this cohort of ambassadors, and you're not on the list, I'm afraid. You have to educate and evangelize internally. As I say, an objection is a plea for more information. Doing things for the first time often raises a question mark. And enjoy it. This is a really positive exercise. The drive and intrinsic motivators and the gold dust stuff that we've had from advocates across a range of clients is really fulfilling, not just for us as the agency, but for them and all of their colleagues. So yeah, enjoy it. So let's talk about it in the real world. Over to you, Shona. You tell me when you want me to press the buttons, and I'll press the buttons.
Okay, just press the buttons as you go. So over to the real world. Advocacy in action. So I've been working with DNA for years now, and a couple of years ago, John and I had a conversation which was really about brand awareness. And so a lot of you probably haven't heard of Get Living unless you're in the real estate business. Get Living is 10 years old. It bought the Olympic park from the Olympics and has grown from there. And we have about 8 different neighborhoods within our pipeline or active. And so unless you're in the real estate market and you really understand what Get Living is, you wouldn't necessarily understand why you wanted to go and work in the finance department or the marketing department. And so what we wanted to do was use it as an activation tool to be able to really get our EVP out there that we worked on with DNA. The important part of it was, what I didn't want to do was use loads of budget and push out loads of different recruitment marketing with pay-per-click. I wanted to do something a little bit different and a little bit believable. And so DNA came to me with the Brand Advocates program. Now, the believability is a big piece of it. And so for the same reason that candidates head to Glassdoor, when you buy something off Amazon, you head to customer reviews. You're going on holiday, you go and check out the customer reviews. That's what the point of this is. And so when you're going to work for a company, whether or not you go and check out what it's like to work for that company, or actually you've been on LinkedIn, as a number of us are, if you're looking for a role, you're scrolling through LinkedIn and you're just starting to see what we describe as the powerful whispers of the brand ambassadors. And so that might be, hopefully within their networks, you're able to really start engaging with their networks as a brand. And so the criteria, and we received a lot of pushback, and John's sort of gone into it from all different levels. So the legal team coming and saying, what if they say something that's not necessarily something that we want to get out there? The marketing team saying, what if you tread on our toes? And so we every little bit of pushback that you're probably going to get from your company, we got from ours. And so really having a conversation with marketing, and they had a sign-off period, didn't they, Max, where they saw everything before it went live. And so giving them that little bit of power to be able to say, look, these are the things that we're posting. And it almost turned into a little bit of a tick box exercise. And I don't think we really do it anymore, because it just went through. And so they built that trust that actually the stuff that we were talking about, which we'll show on a later slide, the stuff that we were talking about, the conversations that we were having on LinkedIn, was actually nothing to do with selling homes, renting homes, the business part of Get Living. It was really about what our people were doing day in the lives of our different advocates. So the criteria for choosing people to be an advocate: diversity, different teams, different engagements, different ages, different levels of experience, different time spent at Get Living. We wanted to sort of cover all bases so that they are also able to have different conversations, because they will have different perspectives. And so that was the important part of it. We've currently got 4 live brand advocates. Going to be probably adding 2 or 3, Max, in the next, that's coming your way. Going to be adding 2 or 3 in the next couple of weeks. So it's not about, like John said, it's not about having everybody within your company as a brand advocate. It really is about having those small, powerful whispers. And they didn't start. So if we take Bobby, for example, it didn't start with this massive, powerful network that we really wanted to tap into. He started with a really normal, average LinkedIn, and it's grown from there. And Max has shared the stats with me recently, and you can see that real growth of interaction with all of his posts. It's also showed us what works, right? And so it showed us that actually, if he leaves the brand stuff alone and really engages in what he's doing in his role and how his role's changing and things that he's achieved, that's the stuff that people engage with. That's the stuff that people are interested in. So using it as that point of differentiation, as lots of competitors were also popping up in the market, how can we make sure that we are really being able to access recruitment to be able to hire the best people? The evolution, so we've had an evolution from the beginning. We've still got some of our originals, and we've got some additions as people have left. We had one person who unfortunately was made redundant, and I can say, you know, obviously a redundancy situation is never a nice situation, but there was nothing negative that came back on this process, which was lovely. What we were in results. So important success factors. So really important, as John said, to choose the right people, and those people aren't necessarily going to be, as John said, the people that really put their hand up and shout the loudest. They need to be they need to be able to engage with the right people that you are reaching out to. Okay, and so if you're looking at your recruitment strategy, what do you find hard to recruit, and who is going to be on the platform that you want to recruit? And so we found accountants were probably quite hard to go and get, and expensive through recruitment agencies, and so that was part of what we went out to get. What we also find hard to recruit, but we haven't used as a brand advocate, is our maintenance. So that's our plumbers and people that are on the ground. And we found that those people actually aren't on LinkedIn. And so we can't use LinkedIn as a tool to be able to go and get them. And so maybe that's not where we would like to spend our budget going and honing that process. And so that's what we've done. My experience, totally honestly, not time consuming at all. Max is our community manager, manages everything. I trust Max to make the process work, and our people trust him to create brilliant posts for them with all of their information, which has been really good. The other thing that I don't think John has mentioned that has been valuable for us is that external view. And so Nikesh might turn around and say, I've not really done much this week. But actually, once Max has had a little bit of a pick, it turns out that actually he's been to one of our brand new neighborhoods and set up the CCTV program for that. And even though that might just be another daily task for Nikesh, actually Max is able to turn it into something that's pretty cool. And so that's been that external view from the outside looking in, and able to just have a little bit of a different perspective on that daily mundane task that somebody thinks that they've done that day, has been really, really powerful, and something that we've really, really used. And also the fun side of it. It's been really lovely to have that cross-departmental, especially after COVID. We're all thirsty for people to talk cross functions, and this has been a method of people doing that. And the people that are in it wouldn't necessarily engage as much as they do, and they have their talks with Max, and DNA have taken them out for a couple of lunches, which has been lovely. And so that cross-departmental engagement has been really, really valuable. I think that's everything that I've covered. We'll nip onto the posts now, John, just so that people
can. Great. Thank you. That was great. I mean, I think we started with 6, went to 4. We had somebody leave. Another person got pulled off. Was really busy on projects, so it was inappropriate. We're down to 3, but we've had volunteers along the way. So we've got people who have seen, their peers in the organisation build their reputation, build pride and purpose. Build their skills. And so to have volunteers who want to be a part of it is great. Obviously, we're going to go through the same selection process, but the thing, new people, new networks, speaking to some of the new things that we need to deliver for the broader brand strategy, I think is really encouraging.
It happened in quite a nice way, because the person that you're talking about was new into the organisation, new-ish, had been there 6-8 months, something like that, and went to Bobby and said, I really like the stuff that you're writing on LinkedIn. I think I should start doing a little bit more of that. And Bobby sort of said, well, actually, it's the Brand Advocate program. And so they didn't know that wasn't Bobby that had really honed in and written the whole thing. And so I think that just speaks to the authenticity of the program.
Yeah, completely. Natasha, have we got time to answer some questions?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to show some of the examples as well, more than happy for you.
Oh yeah, let's do that first. That's better.
Yeah.
Sorry, got ahead of myself. Let's go on to the examples. Oh, bear with.
So I can talk through. Max will probably know a little bit more than I do, but this was Bobby's day in the life of, and his commute to work, and so he got the clipper, the boat to work, and it was a really good post. I think it had a really high level of engagement, didn't it, Max? And it's showing the location of our office and bright sunny London, why you would come and work at Get Living, and a nice coffee on his walk to work, which was a nice sort of fun one to engage with.
Yeah, well, we had a conversation with Bobby, I think at quite a busy time for him, and we were trying to get those bits of gold dust out, and he mentioned at the start of the call, I think, that he might have been late to the meeting or something, and we asked him why, and he said he's got to take, a trip down the Thames to get to work, quite literally, and so we thought, well, next time you do that, just get your phone out and clip up 2-3 seconds of each part of the journey, and we'll do something for you. And so, it's a nice approach to actually something that could be quite mundane, but it's just spotting that opportunity and then building it into the kind of extension of your of your offering as a way, as Get Living, which is, but yeah, performed really well. I think one, because it's a video and that tends to be the top performing kind of medium at the moment, and 2, because you know, it's a cool trip, and people like to see it, and people like to see how people get to work, because it's what we do every day. And you know, if you do join Get Living, you know, you're going to be commuting to work, you know, unless you work from home, but almost every day. And if it looks like anything like that, then you know, how cool.
Yeah. Let's go through the other ones. Over to you, Guy. Max, do you want to talk through this one?
Yeah, so Bobby had a very busy year, and we were on the conversation of Spotify Wrapped, which is a very cool concept. In short, it's just at the end of the year you kind of get a bit of a preview of how your year went on Spotify, the music you've been listening to and your top trends and stuff. And we had the idea with Bobby of just making something like this. So this is actually a carousel post. I think there's one or two kind of slides in between this image, but it just shows top projects, his top moments, and who he's kind of worked closely with and how he's developed throughout the year. So it's a really nice take on a reflection post to start 2024 and look back on 2023.
Great. Danielle's a relationship manager, therefore works much closer to the customer. So lots of hers are around customer interaction and making that customer journey at Get Living as seamless and differentiated as we possibly can. You know, Shona mentioned that it's a niche market, and they have lots of competitors who are very much copycats. They just want to look like Get Living, sound like Get Living, but they can't do this because they haven't got the evidence that proves that actually it is different and special. In their organization, it's not. It's different and special in Get Living, so we can use that evidence right across all of the posts. Max, do you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, so this there was a new role within Bobby's team, and we had this signed off by marketing, but we thought it might be best for Bobby, with the guys that he works with, to share a bit about what they do to I suppose help the talent attraction piece, you know, kind of more explicitly, and really well received. I think it's one of his most kind of highest impression post he's ever had, and I think Shona, you may have had some incoming leads from that. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think that's the key message, isn't it? It's that, you know, these are the guys you work with. If you were to join Get Living, this is who you see. This is what we all look like. We're all happy. We're all cheery, and it's very honest and it's authentic, and it shows, you know, his challenges, and also the opportunities.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. I know for everybody on the call, this is Get Living, and it's not your organisation. I feel like somebody, you know, those awful neighbours on Boxing Day that show you photograph albums of all of their children. Feels a little bit like that. But obviously, you know, when it's your children, it'd be a lot more engaging. But you get the process. And Nikesh, our IT guy.
That was the post that I spoke about previously. He went and he was putting new software, hardware into one of our new neighbourhoods.
Brilliant. Okay, so thank you